Welcome to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. This is a podcast for faithful women who want healing in their relationships, guidance from God, and internal peace. Each week, you'll hear mental health concepts taught through a spiritual lens from me, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, to help you start thinking in a higher and holier way. Welcome. On this episode, we will be discussing how to access peace in the unpeaceful. Safe to assume that you have some unpeaceful things going on in your life, right? And that's because there's no shortage of unpeaceful things in the world today. We live in a fallen world where our bodies are susceptible to opposition. We're tempted by the natural man inside of us to make choices that disturb our peace, and others can make those same choices and cause us to feel unpeaceful as well. Even our prophet, Russell M. Nelson, agrees with that. He said, "We are presently living in what surely is the most complicated time in the history of the world. The complexities and challenges leave many people feeling overwhelmed and exhausted. I weep over your heartaches, disappointments, and worries. It seems that we're accosted daily by an onslaught of sobering news. You may have days when you wish you could don your pajamas, curl up in a ball, and ask someone to awaken you when the turmoil is over." You know what I'm really grateful for? A prophet that leads and guides us with empathy. He truly understands that we're in a difficult time, and feeling peace in the midst of it isn't easy. So we know that difficult times aren't going away. So what are we going to do to feel that peace while those unpeaceful things are happening? That's the grand question, right? Well, that's what I want to dive into today. As a mental health therapist and seeing patients who are experiencing most often some of the more difficult times of their lives, I noticed a theme of what women are doing that isn't allowing them to access peace in the unpeaceful. The one thing that is causing you to not access that peace in the unpeaceful is looking externally for what needs to be changed in order for you to feel peace. What I mean by looking externally is looking for what circumstances need to change or what others need to do in order for you to feel peace. So saying, well, if this person would just start doing this thing, then I could feel peace. Or saying, if I had this certain thing in my life or this certain thing out of my life, then I could feel peace. And yes, looking for other sources of things to change isn't a bad option. If that's your strategy, then you will never feel peace, though. That's because there isn't going to be a shortage of things that will need to be changed in order for you to feel peace. And looking for that ideal life in order to feel peace is a losing battle. It just won't happen. Instead, what you want to look for is accessing internal peace while there are unpeaceful things happening around you. That way you can go to sleep at night, even when things aren't going how you want them to go, right? What would that be like to be able to not have to control the outside world and still feel peace? President Nelson has even pled with us to do this exact thing. And in his words, he said, "None of us can control nations or the actions of others, or even members of our own family, but we can control ourselves." Working within you can be the key to accessing that peace in the unpeaceful. Not looking at controlling things outside of you. In this past April's conference, Elder Christofferson talked about this very subject in regards to becoming one with Christ. He said, becoming one with Christ happens one by one. We each begin with ourselves. We are dual beings of flesh and spirit, and we are sometimes at war within ourselves. The one thing that caught my eye with that quote is the part about being at war within ourselves. In that talk, he goes on to quote President Marion G. Romney, who's a former counselor in the first presidency. And he explained enduring peace. So President Romney said, if a single person yielding to Satan is filled with the works of the flesh, he wars within himself. If two yield, they war within themselves and fight with each other. If many people yield, a society reaps the harvest of great stress and contention. If the ruler of a country yields, there is worldwide contention. President Romney continued, as the works of the flesh have universal application, so likewise does the gospel of peace. If one man lives it, he has the peace within himself. If two men live it, they have peace within themselves and with each other. If the citizens live it, the nation has domestic peace. Now, it's kind of long, right? But let me simplify that a little bit. He's saying that we can all have internal war inside of us that can create not only problems within us, but even more problems when we're talking to others who are having that same internal war themselves. But if we can access internal peace and exit that internal war, we can not only help ourselves, but others. And one of the most powerful tools of putting that war to rest inside of you is accessing the power of personal revelation. President Nelson said, "Our Father knows that when we are surrounded by uncertainty and fear, what will help us very most is to hear His Son. Because when we seek to truly hear His Son, we will be guided to know what to do in any circumstance." And I love that because when you're in those situations that are stealing your peace, the most powerful thing that can bring peace is accessing Him, the Savior, who can give you the information you need for that situation. Remember, the Savior has atoned for everything you have ever felt and experienced and the other people involved in the situation. He has a very good idea of what's needed and to be done, said, or not done. He is the source you want to be accessing. Also, He's your source of peace. His enabling power comes through the power of revelation. Accessing that enabling power of peace through revelation is what will provide you internal peace. So what you really want in order to feel peace in the unpeaceful is to learn to hear Him in the chaos. You need to be able to learn to access that revelation for peace in the midst of the chaos around you. Because just like I said at the beginning, there's no shortage of chaotic things happening around you. You don't have time to create a non-chaotic life, right? To access that peace and revelation. You need to be able to hear Him in the chaos. When you can do that, you can become what I call a divine receiver of His revelation. Then, guess what? You'll stop wasting time and getting distracted. You'll be able to accomplish a lot more in less time. Peace, right? You'll also become this vessel for the Savior to know exactly how to help your loved ones. Again, more peace, right? You'll be able to connect to your divine spiritual DNA to get more done than you can do on your own. Bringing more peace, right? And finally, you'll feel peace in the unpeaceful so that you can go to sleep when life isn't how you want it to be. And I'm going to do my free Hear Him in the Chaos class again this August 10th and 11th. And I would love for you to join us for this free 90-minute class so that you can learn to access that peace in the unpeaceful. So if you'd like to join us for this free class, then click the link in my show notes and get registered today. Thank you for listening to the LDS Mental Health Podcast. I hope you were able to find ways of healing, guidance, and peace. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend who would love to start thinking in a higher and holier way as well. Or hit that follow button so you don't miss out on any episodes. Also, check out the links in my show notes for other episodes you might like and links for other mental health resources on my website.